In Mexico, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's Morena party wins 4 of the 6 governorships in dispute in this Sunday's regional elections. The United States authorities reported a new mass shooting in a city of the state of Tennessee. On Sunday, at least 50 people, including many children, killed by gunmen opened fire on worshippers and detonated explosives at a Catholic church in Ondo State in Nigeria. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Mexico, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's Morena party wins 4 out of the 6 governorships in dispute in this Sunday's regional elections. According to the quick count of the Mexican National Electoral Institute, INE, the governorship party, Morena, won in the state of Hidalgo, Oaxaca, Quintana Roo, and Tamaulipas, while in the remaining states, the candidates of the coalition led by the PAN and the PRI won. In this way, the Morena party wins the governorships of 21 of the 32 states of the country. We move on to other topics. In a radio interview, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros highlighted the response of the governments of the continent to the exclusion policy of the United States in the convening of the Summit of the Americas.
It is a clear contradiction of the meetings in Los Angeles where the intention is to hold the Summit of the Americas. It is clear that this is not a summit, and even less a Summit of the Americas. It is a meeting where important and respectable representatives of our Americas will attend. But simply the government of the United States took it upon itself to drive a dagger into the back of success of the Summit of the Americas. More than 25 governments of the continent have expressed their public protest and their demand that all the governments of the continent be invited to the Summit of the Americas. 25 out of 33. Almost 90% of the governments of the continent had the courage in different ways to express their protest.
The president said progress has been made in the dialogue with the United States in order to make oil production more flexible.
The first steps are being taken. The U.S. a week or so ago took some slight but significant steps by granting licenses to the U.S. company Chevron, the Italian company Eni, and Repsol to begin the processes that will lead them to produce oil and gas in Venezuela for export to their natural markets.
And according to Reuters news agency, the United States government authorized Italy's Eni and Spain's Repsol to start shipping Venezuelan oil to Europe in order to compensate, in Washington's opinion, the European dependence on Russian oil. The agreement includes the condition that the product will not be resold from Europe to other regions. The decision is not expected to have any impact on the international oil prices. In Colombia, a recent poll showed that Gustavo Petro, the candidate for the Historical Pact coalition, leads the voting intention for the presidential election runoff on June 19th. According to a poll from the National Consulting Center, the CNC, Petro leads the preference with 44.9%, ahead of the candidate of the League for Anti-Corruption Rulers, Rodolfo Hernández, who will accumulate 41% of the voting intention. The study showed that Hernández leads the preference in Antioquia, the coffee-growing region, and the Central Eastern region with margins of 10 points over Petro, while Petro leads in the capital city of Bogotá, the Caribbean region, and the Pacific, with differences of at least 30 points over Hernández. The United States authorities reported a new mass shooting on Sunday in a city on the state of Tennessee. The shooting took place in the city of Chattanooga, where at least 3 people were killed and more than 1,000 were wounded. This incident occurred just 2 hours after another mass shooting in Philadelphia that left at least 3 dead and 11 wounded. Authorities said that at least 1 minor was among the wounded and that the several victims remained in critical condition. Authorities noted that there was more than one shooter involved in the accident. The United States has been suffering from a wave of gun violence and mass shootings from several weeks, including tragedies at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, and a grocery store in Buffalo, New York, which left dozens dead.
My guess is probably actually detected cars.
Telesur expands its signal with new satellite parameters, since more than ever the world connects to us and our stories are being heard in other farther away nations. These parameters are in place since June 1st in Latin America and the Caribbean, both in English and in Spanish. And quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in Europe, in the Middle East and Africa. This new multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to the audience. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. In Cuba, damage assessment and recovery efforts continue after the heavy rains that hit mainly its westernmost provinces. President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez highlighted the actions being carried out in Havana's neighborhoods to face the floods. Our correspondent, Fabiola Lopez, with the details.
This is the panorama of the Fanguito neighborhood after the heavy rains that flooded several areas of Havana on Friday. Here, party authorities give guidelines to assess damages and begin recovery work. We are helping the neighbors to clean the houses that were flooded by the river, and we are also cleaning the central line that runs directly into the river. Guillermina Alberja is one of the neighbors of the Fanguito, this neighborhood in transformation, which suffered the most damage when the breakdown of a pedestrian bridge on the Almendares in a few minutes caused severe flooding in several houses along the river. Guillermina explains that her neighbors also suffered material damage. Aleida shows Telesur the damage to her house. What was not expected was that during the evacuation, which was being carried out, the river would come with such intensity. Immediately, all the authorities of the People's Council came, as well as the government and the province, concerned to see the conditions in which we were, especially in terms of health, food, and water, were guaranteed. A water pipe was brought in so that we would not be affected by the river water that had entered at that moment. Therefore, the action of the government management was there. 111 landslides in Havana, 2 total and 109 partial, and 91 affected electrical circuits were some of the damages caused by the heavy rains that left in the Cuban capital. 595 evacuees in 23 centers and more than 3,000 self-evacuees in homes of neighbors and relatives.
At the moment, in the 50 municipalities of the province, there are brigades of the construction, transport of cargo and transportation, supporting the cleanup of solid waste, pruning residues, rubble. There are also brigades of support to the construction, for once the climatological situation allows, as everything seems to indicate that it's going to do. so also to enter the evaluation of the damage, especially of the collapses, and to begin in the restoration of the affected houses and buildings.
Experts from the Meteorological Institute warn that it may still rain in the west of the country in the afternoon and evening hours, but they say most of the rainfall from Saturday onwards will move to the center of the country.
Fabiola Lopez, Telesur, La Habana.
In Philippines, the eruption of a volcano caused the evacuation of neighboring towns due to ashes and possible new eruptions. According to the Institute of Volcanology and Seismology of Philippines, the eruption of the Bolsunan volcano in the province of Sorsogon lasted about 17 minutes, and the column of smoke rose at least 1 kilometer high. Authorities reported that level 1 of danger has been established around the crater of the volcano and created an exclusion zone with a 4-kilometer range. Authorities advised locals to stock up on food and drinking water. Meanwhile, ashes have already begun to reach nearby villages and volcanic earthquakes have been felt, although no lava has been detected so far. The Philippines is located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an area of significant seismology, and have some 20 active volcanoes. Now we move on to other topics. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that a new U.S. military aid package to Ukraine will not help to bring about positive changes in the conflict. In statements to the press, the Russian president denounced that the additional deliveries of weapons to Kiev have only one goal: to extend the conflict on the Ukrainian territory. In view of this fact, he warned that in the event that Ukraine receives long-range missiles from the United States, Moscow will take the appropriate conclusions and will use its means of destruction to hit the facilities that they have avoided to attack up so far. Putin's statements come in response to statements by the U.S. counterpart, Joe Biden, who officially announced on Tuesday the delivery of a new military aid package to Ukraine, which will include HIMARS multiple rocket launchers, a type of long-range weapons that Kiev has been requesting for months from its Western allies in the midst of the Russian military operation in the neighboring country, initiated on February 24th.
If they supply the long-range missiles to Ukraine, we will draw the appropriate conclusions and use our weapons, of which we have enough, to strike targets we haven't yet hit. All this kerfuffle around additional arms deliveries serves only one goal: to prolong the armed conflict as long as possible.
In Kazakhstan, the attendance to the referendum on constitutional amendments and additions held this Sunday overpassed the minimum required. According to the organization and the organizing commission, a total of 6,262,973 eligible citizens from all over the Central Asian nation received ballots, that is, more than 50% of the required minimum out of over 11.7 million registered in the electoral roll, out of a population of over 19.1 million. Amendments to additions to the Constitution shall be adopted if more than one-half of the citizens of at least two-thirds of the regions and the cities of the Republican subordination vote in favor. The suggested changes include the reduction of powers of the head of state, significantly strengthen the role of the parliament and local representative bodies, and strengthen the area of rights defense. In France, authorities confirmed that negotiations are underway with the United Arab Emirates to replace all imports from Russia. The information was confirmed by France's Economy Minister, Bruno Le Maire, who also reported that these negotiations are being carried out as part of the Western embargo against the Eurasian nation. The head of the economy portfolio also declared that his country must find an energy alternative to Russian oil as part of a policy of independence with respect to President Vladimir Putin's resources. The European Union agreed last May 30th a progressive embargo on Russian oil transported by ship to the Union, with the intention of avoiding the veto of Hungary, which receives it directly by pipeline. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. On Sunday, at least 50 people, including many children, were killed by gunmen that opened fire on worshippers and detonated explosives at a Catholic church in Ondo State in Nigeria. The gunmen targeted the St. Francis Catholic Church, shooting at people inside and outside the building. They gunned down mass attendees and detonated an explosive device, local media reported. Ondo State Governor Arakurnin Olawurotimi Akelodoru, who visited the scene of the attack and injured persons at a hospital, described Sunday's incident as a great massacre that should not be allowed to happen again. And Sunday, June the 5th, marked World Environmental Day, a day that seeks to raise awareness about the importance of caring for ecosystems and fostering respect towards Mother Earth. The date was proclaimed by the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1972, coinciding with the start of the Stockholm Conference, whose main theme was precisely the environment. The commemoration calls upon the world's population to focus efforts on motivating individuals and the communities to become active agents of sustainable development and protection of the planet. This date is taken as an opportunity to invite people to improve their consumption habits, companies to develop more ecological models, governments to protect wilderness areas, teachers to educate in natural values, young people to raise their voices for the future of the planet, and to remember that environmental protection requires the support of all. Now we move on to other topics. The world registered 780 confirmed cases of monkeypox, according to figures from the World Health Organization, the WHO. The figure corresponds to the cases registered between May 13th and Thursday, June the 2nd, in at least 27 countries around the world. According to the WHO, although the virus is not endemic, the moderate level of global risk remains. It also warned that it's highly probable that more cases and a greater expansion of the virus will be identified due to the limited epidemiological and laboratory information available to date. WHO reported that among the countries with the highest number of monkeypox infections are the United Kingdom, with 207 cases, Spain with 156, Portugal with 138, Canada with 58, and Germany with 57 cases. And Al Mayadeen reports that Israeli settlers stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque under heavy security measures by the occupation forces. It was also reported that they closed the doors of the mosque to the worshippers inside it with chains to secure the settlers' incursions. In addition, they fired rubber bullets at the youths, causing them injuries. Al-Aqsa Mosque director Omar Al-Kishwani said that so far, 5 groups of extremist settlers have broken into the Al-Aqsa courtyards and are performing provocative prayers. Israeli forces deployed inside the courtyards to secure the settlers' entry and laid siege to the Al-Qibli Hall, where dozens of worshippers are present to prevent friction. The break-ins follow a call by temple organizations to storm the Al-Aqsa Mosque and its courtyards in memory of the Jews' celebration of the holiday of Shavuot. And the people of India have witnessed a burning summer heat with temperatures exceeding 47 Celsius degrees all over the country. The Indian Meteorological Department issued this Sunday a yellow alert warning of a heat anomaly in isolated areas of the country. They stated that this Saturday the maximum temperature was 47.1 Celsius degrees and was recorded in the region of Mungchapur, while the city of Pitampura recorded 46.5 degrees centigrade. Meanwhile, the Najafara meteorological station recorded 46.2 degrees. Likewise, the meteorological authorities in New Delhi detailed that the heat wave is likely to increase by 2 degrees in several areas of the northwest and central India during the next 2 to 3 days. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.